Join me today as we talk about the what is presumably going to be the first season of the show Landman. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name's Bobbie, and the season finale of Landman was on the other night, and so the first season's now over. I did a video on this prior to this, and I think I was like 4 episodes in at that point, maybe 5, and maybe 6. I don't remember. Point is, the show's over now. 10 episodes, I believe, is how many the season had. So, I'm going to kind of rehash, in case you didn't see the other video, what the show's about, the main players, and so on. I'm not going to go into heavy spoilers because it did just pop up on streaming. Not that this is really like a, oh, surprise, twists and turns kind of show. You know, I mean, 1 or 2 kind of surprising things happen, but nothing major. This is very character and scenario driven kind of show. So Billy Bob Thornton is the main character. He is the title Landman, who basically manages like the day-to-day in the field operations for an oil company in Texas. The company's owner, his immediate boss, is John Hamm. His wife is Demi Moore. Then Billy Bob's ex-wife, possibly future wife again, is Allie Larder. And there's a number of other people show up here and there. His 2 kids, they don't look like they've been in a whole lot. I can't think, there's a lawyer that he works with real closely, and I can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but he played the leader of the Necromongers in the second Riddick movie. And I'm sure he's been plenty of other things, but that's just what comes to mind here. And so all these characters, like I said, it's all dealing with oil companies in Texas. So it's a whole lot of like character-driven moments, characters having to deal with situations. This is built on Billy Bob Thornton, well, basically playing Billy Bob Thornton. And as was a commenter on the first video pointed out, it was Charbroiled Beefcake. He's really good at playing Billy Bob Thornton, as one would expect. There's a couple real, like, noteworthy kind of monologues. One comes from like 2 or 3 episodes in. It's the one that I saw that convinced me to watch the show, where he basically spells out there's a lawyer that gets hired because of an incident towards the very beginning where some of the workers are killed, and she has to go and figure out, liability. Are they, how are they going to take care of the families, stuff like that. So Billy Bob basically breaks down for her that, like, the world literally runs on oil, and it's not just cars. There's a whole laundry list of things, and they're standing next to a windmill, the giant ones that used to generate electricity, not like a Dutch windmill or anything. And he's basically explaining that even these things, he's like, he tells her point blank, like, if you think these things actually made money, don't you think that Chevron or any of these other companies wouldn't be building them all over the place? Because they want money. It's not that they're addicted to oil. They're addicted to money. It's just that oil's a way to get it. So, and he explains that what you need oil for those things for transporting them, for putting them together, for dismantling them, for moving the blades everywhere, for lubricating them, for winterizing them. And it just goes on and on. I mean, our world literally runs on petroleum. And there's a similar thing in the final episode here, where again he has to bring the lawyer in, and basically there's a deal that got set up a couple episodes prior, or an episode prior. They're trying to follow through on it, but they're going to have to frack to get the oil, and the lawyer is opposed to fracking, thinks it should be illegal, And he kind of just, ridicules her like, well, I guess you should have become a congressman and lobbied for that instead of becoming a lawyer. And he's besides, like, you're a lawyer, why do you have any morals at all? So he basically tells her, like, look, and I'm going to paraphrase because I can't quote it here, but he says, like, basically tells her, look, our grandparents built this world that runs on this stuff, and we got to keep finding it or the world stops. He's like, it's that simple. And then he starts to drive off, and he's like, well, there is an alternative, He's like, you could throw your phone away, trade your car in for a bike, and go live in a tent and hunt for your own food, but know that you're going to be the only one, and you're not going to make any difference doing that. He's like, plus I hear it gets real windy up there on up there, not on your high horse. Oh, so yeah, I already screwed up. Shouldn't even tried this. Um, well, anyway, it's not your high horse, but it's something like that. I can't think of what it is, but essentially what he's telling her is, yeah, you can do all that, but you're not going to change anything, and you're just going to be worse off for it. So why even try? But yeah, in the show, it's got a few things like that, but it also shows that it's very dangerous work, that you're dealing with potentially dangerous people in the form of the cartels, and also that the oil companies have some serious pull, as is demonstrated whenever one of the guy he works for is able to convince the governor to have the National Guard train there to try to drive off the cartels. So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting look at what I'm sure is a somewhat fictionalized view of the oil business, but probably not as much as we'd all like to believe. And I'm sure in several ways it's actually like way worse and way darker. So, yeah, we're introduced to some new folks at the end. One of whom I think was it Andy Garcia? Yeah, I think that's who it was. I had to double check. Higher up in the drug hierarchy, and basically he's trying to tell him, Billy Bob's character, like, oh no, like we need to get to back where we were, where we're staying out of each other's way and everything. It's like, he's like, compromise. Like, hey, we could be friends. Billy was like, oh, we'll never be friends. And he's like, well, it's one step at a time. And then Billy Bob was kind of like, there's no future in your product, the drug business. And he's like, well, that's fine. I'm more interested in your product. And he's like, well, there's no future there. And he goes, yeah, there's a little bit of future left. We'll talk about that later. So, yeah, I expect if season 2 comes around, and I expect it to, because the show's been highly praised, that we'll definitely be seeing more of him. And, yeah, there's some dramatic shifts in the situation towards the end of the show. And, again, I don't want to go into that because I don't want to spoil it. I have seen criticism online. Like, the only thing I've really seen criticism of is that it feels like the parts with his wife and daughter are just kind of tacked on to have, I guess, because they're both attractive. And maybe, it does kind of feel that way at points, because I don't see where it's going, like with the ex-wife, that I see, 'cause she's trying to get back with Billy Bob, but also, like, trying to figure out, okay, if I'm doing this, what am I going to do? Because she's not going to work, she spelled that out in another episode. So she's got to find something to do, and then his daughter's just kind of along for the ride, whereas his son, is actually having a character arc that is kind of interesting. He started off working there, and he's kind of moving out of that, but also, his relationship, and so that part's interesting. If it does move forward, I would like to see just a little bit more with the other two characters that live in the house there, the lawyer and the geologist. The geologist seems to mainly be there for comedic relief, but just a little bit of character from him would be nice. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. You don't have to spend whole episodes delving into his backstory or anything. Just something. Likewise with the lawyer. and maybe with the other lawyer, the lady who has joined the show. Um, yeah, I mean, and I'd say there's a fair chance we're going to be getting more of Demi Moore, because as the season progresses, you do get more and more of her. And that was something I commented on in the other video, was I'd like to see more of her. And given the way things are at the end of season 1, I would say that's a distinct possibility. So hopefully there is a season 2, and hopefully the writing can remain consistent. I know I've seen some people who didn't care for the ending of Yellowstone. I haven't watched Yellowstone, but it's the same writer. And I've seen people who didn't care for the ending of that. Others have tried to spell out like, well, it's what the whole thing was building towards. So, I mean, obviously it was going to happen. So, I don't know if the writer is otherwise known for dropping the ball later on in the seasons. So, hopefully it doesn't happen if there's a season 2. And that leaves enough that there's interesting things that could happen, and I'm sure there's plenty of other things they can explore. So I have hopes for a season 2. If there isn't, it's still 10 really good episodes, really good writing, really good acting. It's just it'll feel a little inconclusive at the end, which that kind of sucks. But like it was left in such a way that could be the ending. And you just kind of make up whatever you think is going to happen after that, but also left enough that if they want to do a season 2, there's definitely things to work with. There's definitely avenues to explore. So, yeah, I'm hopeful. There's one guest star I want to mention. I say guest stars in the last couple episodes. He's the National Guard commander, who I've got to look up to double check it, but I'm like 99% certain. He is the guy, I can't think of his name, I should have looked it up before I did this, who plays Crichton on Farscape, and who later, like towards the end of the run on Stargate, he and Claudia Black joined the Stargate cast. So, I want to say Ben Browder, but there's part of me that thinks that's not right. I'll look it up, and one, I'll make sure it is actually him, but two, like I'll if it's not his name, I'll put his name up here. But he's not in a lot of the show, but it just is one of those, like, it took me a second, and I was like, hey, wait a minute, I recognize him. So, I'm glad he's getting some work, because I do like him as an actor. And, I don't really know what's going on the sci-fi front, unless he was going to show up in, like, Strange New Worlds or something for Star Trek. But, yeah. So, anyway, just a little tidbit there. So, if you get the chance, it's on Paramount Plus. Like I said, it's about 10 episodes. The finale is longer. It's like an hour and a half. Most of the other episodes are around an hour. But it was a really good show. Excellent writing, excellent acting. Like I said, the only part that's, sketchy is some of the stuff with the wife and the daughter. But if it pays off later, it'll be worth it. At the moment, it doesn't seem to. But again, I'm sure it was one of those, hey, let's leave it open for season 2. But let's have enough of a conclusion that if we don't, at least we have some things conclude here. So, don't want to do like the Silver Surfer animated series from Fox in the 90s that I believe, if I recall correctly, it ends on a cliffhanger. I think it's Thanos wiped out half the life of the universe, or something to that effect. It's been a while since I've seen it. But the Surfer has to go try to stop it or prevent it or undo it or something, and the show just kind of stops. So it ends with Thanos winning. But anyway, hopefully it doesn't happen here, but if it does, like I said, it's still 10 really good episodes, so definitely worth checking out. So that's all I've got on that. So let me know down in the comments if you've seen the show. I know a couple folks commented the last time they've been watching it. Let me know what you thought of the finale if you've seen it, and the show in general. If you're going to watch it, if you see this at some later date, this is January 2025. So if you see this like sometime next year or something, and you've seen the show since then, let me know what you think. But other than that, we always appreciate like, shares, subscribes, all that fun stuff, sharing and commenting. Other things that help us grow the channel. We always appreciate it. But yeah, that's about where I leave off here. So, folks, I will see you later.